I stopped using Mounjaro 2 months ago, and ever since I have been filled with that dreaded anticipation, the familiar feeling of stepping on the scales and seeing the weight gradually go up. It's happened to me every time I've been on any other weight loss journey. And equally, we're told by researchers that it's more than likely going to happen to us once we stop using a GLP-1 medication. So in this video, you're going to get the actual results of what the scales are telling me 2 months after I've used Mounjaro. And actually what they're showing is really pretty interesting. So let's get into it. Now, I was someone that would weigh daily, multiple times a day. And the reality is it completely dominated my life. If I stood on the scales and they showed a gain, even if it was only half a pound, I would be devastated. If I stood on the scales and they showed a loss, I was on a natural high all day. But what I've come to learn throughout the years of having a weight issue is that the scales are only telling us a small proportion of our fat loss journey. So a couple of weeks ago, I decided that it would be really interesting, now that I'm at maintenance and have been off Mounjaro for 2 months, to go back to daily weighing for a short period to see what exactly my body's doing in a general week. That's what we're going to go through in this video, as I said. But what I will do is I will link the video that I did last week, not only because it's a good video, and if you haven't seen it, check it out, but also because I'd started to do this daily weighing in there. So I won't go through the updates of last week's weighing in this video, but it is in there, so check it out. So just to sort of bring us back to basics, last week, when I weighed to do my video, it showed that from the previous week, I had a 4 pound loss. Now, I don't think I'd lost 4 pounds. Nothing fits differently. I don't feel any different. It was just the fluctuations, as I talked about in that video. So let's start with Wednesday. So on Wednesday morning, I woke up in the morning, first thing, and I weighed, and I was 140 pounds. In the evening, just before bed, I weighed and I was 143 pounds. Now, that day, I had 1,510 calories and I drank 2 litres of water. On the Thursday, woke up first thing, weighed, I was 141 pounds, so a pound up from the 2 previous days. Just before bed, I weighed again and I was 142 pounds. Calorie intake for that day was 1,206 and I had a litre of water. On Friday, woke up first thing, 139 pounds. Just before bed, 141 pounds. Calories for the day, 1,468, 2 litres of water. On Saturday, I stood on the scales and I weighed 138 pounds, which is the lowest that I have weighed since I was 13 and began gaining weight. Just before bed, I was 139 pounds and I ate 1,310 calories and had a litre of water that day. On Sunday, woke up first thing and was 142 pounds. Just before bed, I was 147 pounds. Now, I'd gone off and on and off and on, and I had a moment of existential crisis where I was like, oh my God, what's gone wrong here? And I went straight back into the old thinking of, have I gained 5 pounds? Even if I gained 7 pounds, why is the scale so up? I was going back thinking, what had I eaten? And then I caught wind of myself and just reined myself in. And I'd had 1,700 calories that day and 2 litres of water. Now, the following morning, which is today, I've only weighed this morning because of recording this video, but I'm back down to 142 pounds. But that's still 2 pounds up from the last time that I officially documented my weight. So where have I gone wrong? Now, as we all know, there's 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat. And there is no way that in any of these days I overate 3,500 calories. The closest I came to it was the day that my weight went right up to 147 pounds. And that day I ate 1,700 calories, but overall was actually still in a 200 calorie deficit. So what the hell has gone on? Well, let's go through now some of the most common reasons that the weight will fluctuate on the scales that are nothing to do with fat gain and what I think is happening for my body at the moment. Now, these are in no particular order or order of significance. So first of all, glycogen and water. Your body stores excess carbohydrates, glucose, as glycogen in your liver and your muscles. For every 1 gram of glycogen stored, your body holds on to approximately 3 grams of water. And for context, there's 433.5 grams up in 1 pound. Then there's hormonal changes, your monthly cycle, perimenopause, the natural hormonal fluctuations that we all go through. Additionally, for us that are using a GLP-1 or have been using a GLP-1 medication, the medication is stabilizing our hormones. And so if you stop the medication, there's going to be a period of time when your hormones are fluctuating and they're all over the place because the natural stabilizer in the medication is no longer there. And so your body has to start figuring out what it needs to do. And you're aided in that with the foods that you eat. Then there's the bloating due to your menstrual cycle. And that doesn't happen the same for everybody. Some people experience bloating the week before their menstrual cycle, the week that they're having their period, or even the week after, times of ovulation. And then there's high sodium intake and water retention. Now, my genes still fit the same. I don't look any different. I don't feel any different. And so I'm very confident that I've not overeaten or even really eaten anything with a very high sodium volume. What this is for me, I believe, is my cycle. And what I've come to establish at being a lower weight, when my cycle has become more regular, is that actually I'm somebody that experiences bloating the week after my period. And that is what I think is happening for me this week. But what is the significance of this? What's the importance? Why have I bothered to share this? Well, I think it is really, really relevant because as somebody that used to be really immersed in diet culture, I went to Slimming World for 11 years. I dipped in and out of Weight Watchers. I used to weigh myself all the time, but I would have an official weekly weigh. What I would say is, as somebody that was immersed in that culture, had I had gone to an evening group of Slimming World that night when I went up to 147 pounds, so 7 pounds up from the previous week, I would have been absolutely gutted. And without a shadow of a doubt, it would have been the start of my downfall, because I can guarantee that I would have left the Slimming World group, hit the shop on the way home, and gone straight into a binge cycle where I'd have eaten everything in sight and would have effectively given myself the right to do that because of how angry and disappointed and upset that I was. Then the following week, I wouldn't have gone to group because I would have gained more weight, and a good proportion of that would have been fat because I absolutely would have overeaten. And then I would have gone into a cycle of knowing that to get back to weight loss on the scales, I needed to do silly things like real deprivation and high levels of exercise to be able to go back to group with my head held high and not to feel embarrassed. Now, if that doesn't sum up diet culture, I don't know what does. But if it also doesn't sum up the rut that we can get stuck in and why it's so important to understand that the scales isn't just telling us about what fat we've gained and lost, I don't see a better example of that. And for me, I know for 11 years of going to Slimming World, that's where I was stuck in. Now, I'm not going to talk about my Slimming World journey, but in this video, I do talk about my Slimming World journey and the experiences that I had. So do give that video a watch, because I think it's relevant for so many of us that have been stuck in diet culture and perhaps are having a very similar experience to the one that I'm discussing. But watch that video and let me know what you think. Equally, if this video has been helpful and it's resonated with anybody, or other people are starting to discover why their body might naturally fluctuate on the scales and whether that's helpful for them or not, let me know in the comments. And also let me know if this is something that you think is interesting for me to continue to document alongside my maintenance journey, because I'm more than happy to, because I'm finding it really interesting. As always, let me know in the comments. If you've liked this video, give it a quick like or it would be a thumbs up, and share it. And if you haven't done so, consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.